everyone, today I wanted to do a video about one of our family subjects that we have planned for this upcoming school year. I want to do kind of an election study in the fall to go along with the upcoming presidential election, and so I thought that I would share with you the resources that I have for that and kind of what I think our plan looks like. I'm still fine-tuning some things, but first of all, we have about, I think 11 weeks from when we start school until like the week before the election, something like that. I have it written out somewhere, just not here. So that's the time frame that I have to work in. And so one of the main things that we are going to be doing is this book called For Which We Stand. I got 2 copies used, and then I will borrow a copy from the library so that both my kids and myself have one, but we are going to be working through this book to make sure that their foundation and kind of how our government works is really solid. So if you'd like to pause, you can kind of see the different topics that are covered in here. I like the layout of this book. I think that visually it's appealing, and I think my kids will enjoy working through it. Now, I did find on Teachers Pay Teachers for free some printables that go along with it. So I've already printed those out here. These are from a company called the Abada Foundation. And essentially they just work through, there's not one for like every section, but there are for a lot of them, a lot of the sections. Oops, I've got 2 copies of everything here. So it's basically notebooking through the book. And so we are going to do notebooking as we read through this book. And then I'm going to add in some other things when we have chapters where when there isn't a printable for it. So we have that. And then let me see what I've marked here. So in this section about presidential debates, I don't have a printable for that. So I am going to insert this problem-based learning unit called The Great Debates. I did another video about problem-based learning, and I will link that somewhere here. But this one, your students are tasked with, basically it takes place after, I think, the 4th debate between Kennedy and Nixon, and they are, let me find the page here. They are in the stakeholder role of media consultants to Vice President Richard Nixon's ad hoc advertising group. And essentially, they're tasked very close to the election with devising a strategy to help reshape Nixon's image in the media so that he will gain votes and triumph over Kennedy for presidency. It sets up the problem for them, gives them the opportunity to kind of do a little research to figure out what else they need to know about the problem, what the constraints are, and then coming up with a solution to the problem. Comes with a resource book for them to use with different transcripts and campaign materials and little newspaper articles and things like that. So this will take at least 2 of those 11 weeks to do. So that's another source we're going to be using. Also, we're going to be doing a read aloud. I've shared about this book before. It's called Susie B. Won't Back Down. It's about this girl who is running for class president, and kind of in the midst of this, in one of her classes, they are doing a hero project, and she picks Susan B. Anthony. And in her research of Susan B. Anthony, she finds some non-favorable things about her, and she really struggles with that. And so this book really kind of goes over, talks about that issue, because no one's perfect, and what do you do with that kind of information? And it talks about how people are paradoxes. And I found this printable on the publisher website that has different discussion questions and some activities that students can do to go along with that book. So we'll be doing this as a read aloud during those 11 weeks. And let's see. I also found this project from Learning for Justice. The lesson is the Early Republic, and students examine voting rights in the early years of the United States and the causes and effects of the first major expansion of voting rights, which took place in the late 1700s and first half of the 1800s. And then by the end of the lesson, they'll be able to explain where various groups of Americans stood regarding the right to vote before the Civil War, and they'll hypothesize about what they expect happened next. And so there's objectives, essential questions, and all of the information that you need to do that. So that's one we're going to try to do as well. I've got a few books from my own collection, and then a few books from the library that we will use. And then also we have this game called Election Night. This is a really great game. There is math in it, but it's also really explains the Electoral College really well. And I found this new expansion pack, which is citizenship test question cards. Learn about U.S. civics and history using questions based on the United States citizenship test. And so these go along with the game. So we have that we're going to kind of be reusing. And then a couple books that I got from the library that I thought looked good to kind of go along with this is The Kid's Complete Guide to Elections. Now this covers election campaigns, democratic values, electoral college, political parties, and voting. And you can get all of these books separately, but this one has all of them in one, which is much easier for me to keep track of, so I liked that. This is one I pulled off our shelf that we've used before and I think will be useful during this study as well, called The Constitution Decoded. We will also be doing a lot of watching social media and things as our own presidential election comes up, and trying to work in some activities around that and watching debates and things like that. But I do want to really put in some critical thinking, and so I found these books by David Pakman. This one is Think Like a Voter, A Kid's Guide to Shaping Our Country's Future, and then this Think Like a Detective, A Kid's Guide to Critical Thinking. And I think that I will find a way to use both of these. They are kind of like picture books, but they talk about asking good questions to kind of verify, if how true something might be, about looking for evidence. So it gives you different, this one, Daniel's friend Cassie tells him that there's a hidden treasure from a shipwreck under the ocean. Where should we start looking for evidence? We can start with questions like these, and just asking questions to try to figure out, does this treasure really exist? Where would we find it? Really using what they call their critical thinking superpowers to find good evidence. I really like this one. I will say that this does use an illustration and maybe a situation of a former president that they've kind of not so subtly kind of rewritten. So you may, depending on where you fall on that political line, you may not like this book. But I think that it will work for us, and I think it will be good in just reminding my kids about looking for evidence, asking questions, that kind of thing. And then Think Like a Voter is also good. I like the Think Like a Detective better, but this really does take you through the process. So this will just be a nice little quick read I can do as like an introduction to the unit or something like that. So I think that's everything that I have. But if you have any, I know, I'm also going to pull these out because my kids really love the Who HQ books. My daughter has read all these. I don't know if my son has. I grabbed these ones, the What is a Presidential Election, Declaration of Independence, Constitution, and then we have this History Smashers, Women's Right to Vote. I'm not going to do anything with these, but I am going to pull these, and then any that we have on past presidents, and have these out for my kids to use in whatever way they want during those 11 weeks. So that is the plan for our election unit. I would love it if you have any suggestions. specifically in applying critical thinking to politics in social media and that kind of thing. I would love to hear your suggestions if you have any, but if you would like any more information about anything that I shared, let me know. I'm pretty excited about it. I think it's going to be a pretty fun unit and a very informative one, but let me know and I will talk to you down in the comments.